Welcome to the 30th episode of the Python tutorial series. If you've enjoyed this series so far, make sure to leave a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you have any coding questions that you would like me to answer, make sure to leave a comment below and get the chance of being featured in my next Q&A video. Returning to our topic for today, you can see that so far we have defined functions that can take one or more custom arguments. But what if we want to create a code which is truly interactive, where the user is actively encouraged to provide one or more inputs to the function? Well, that's what the input command is used for. Let's look at an example to see how it works. Here we have a piece of code which calculates the time required to travel a certain distance at a constant speed. As you can see, our first variable is our speed. To get the speed, we can say that this is equal to input, as before. This, however, is not sufficient, as the input command produces a string, and we want a floating point number instead. So we can convert our value to a float simply by saying float of input. If this way of handling variables is unfamiliar to you, make sure to check out my tutorial on variables, which you can access by clicking on the banner in the top right-hand corner of your screen or on the link in the video description. We can now extend the same syntax also to our distance variable. We can therefore say float of input. Now we can run our code by pressing the F5 key and call our function on the right-hand side by saying calc time. As you can see, our function now prompts us to write our first input, which is our speed. Let's say 50. Now we have to input our distance, let's say 100. And the function now gives us the correct value of 2. Now let's call our function again, and this time we can write as an input hello. As you can see, in this case we get an error, because our input should have been a number, and instead we gave it a word. This would be an excellent place to handle the error using a try and except command. We learned how to do this in a previous episode, so make sure to check that out by clicking on the link in the top right-hand corner of your screen or in the video description. Now though, what if we want to provide the user with a message to explain what input should be provided? Well, luckily enough, the input command allows us to include a custom piece of text to act as a prompt for the user. So in this case, we could write, please enter the speed. And on the second line, we could say, please enter the distance. As you can see, if we now run our function using the F5 key, and call our function by saying calc time, the user will now be provided with the message we have just created. And after inserting the appropriate inputs, let's say again 50 and 100, the function then calculates the correct answer. With that, we have now come to the end of today's episode. In next week's video, I will set a coding challenge, so make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. If you wish to put your Python skills to the test, then check out my previous coding challenges. You can find a link to these in the top right-hand corner of your screen and in the video description. Here you can also find a link to my entire Python tutorial series, so make sure to check that out too. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave a comment below. I look forward to seeing you next week for an exciting coding challenge. And until then, happy coding!